Welcome to the live stream, guys. Toronto Blue Jays baseball is back. Opening day is here. Let's get right into it.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays, and welcome to opening day. We have our watch party here. Braden joins me, obviously, from the studio. Braden, how you feeling? We finally made it to the day.
Man, I've been tweeting all morning. I'm still at work, so I'm just going to be hopping in and out a little bit, at least until I get back home and whatever. I got the game on the big TV behind me. I am so ready to go, dude. This is everything I've been waiting for and more. There's even been a lot of hype, even around the office here, about, what are the Blue Jays really going to be this season? So I am super, super excited. They did the award ceremony beforehand with the Gold Gloves and the Silver Sluggers. And just hearing some of the comments from Bo Bichette that some guys have gathered, I am over the moon, ready to go here.
No, we're seeing the Davis Schneider Mully in full effect. I think just seeing all the boys back on the baseball field really brought it back to me and just made it feel like real life. And here it is, real life in front of our faces. Obviously, right now we have the national anthems going on. And we had some interesting news already on opening day with the batting order. We both made our own batting orders, and not too surprised at the top of it how it went. Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Anthony Santander going to square off in the first inning. How can you not get excited about that? But then you have Andres Jimenez hitting in the cleanup spot. I figured that they were going to go with Andres Jimenez than Alejandro Kirk. I brought up the point yesterday, the double play ball. Did not think that it would be in the 4 or 5 spot. I thought it'd be closer to maybe like the 7-8 spot, the 6-7 spot. A little wild to have Andres Jimenez leading on or hitting in your cleanup spot on the first day of baseball.
Yeah, maybe, you know what, Carter? Maybe they're seeing something that we're not, right? They're seeing these guys every day. You're wanting a guy to be able to drive the baseball. Maybe that is Andres Jimenez. Maybe his bat is back, and we can expect big things. I'm going to be really looking into today's game and what could happen. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I got a bet on today, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., 2 bases. It was bet boosted and whatever else. So a lot of people taking that one, I see. So hop on the train if you want to as well. Obviously, this podcast is usually brought to you by FanDuel as well. So go on FanDuel, place those bets. Carter, I will be right back. I got to hit an ad break, and I will be back. I'll leave things to you. And if you see me waving at you in the StreamYard, you can pop me back in.
Sounds like a plan. So I got some more stuff, obviously, I want to go over. And we're going to have a ton more that we want to get into. Obviously, this is a watch party. We're going to be hanging around for a long time. But I just wanted to go over some of the stuff that came out this morning. Obviously, we do have that lineup, as I'll finish off right now. So we have the top 3 of Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Anthony Santander. Andres Jimenez will be at the number 4 spot. Alejandro Kirk at 5. You have George Springer as your number 6 hitter. Good thing they are not leading this guy off this year. You can already tell that the leash is a whole lot shorter. We heard the John Schneider comments earlier on in this offseason. Talking to George Springer, it seemed like they were going to be a lot more flexible with George Springer, where they put him in this batting order. Sometimes going to be at 1, sometimes going to be at 5, 6, 7. Kind of see how he will play throughout the season. That's probably how it should be managed, especially George Springer being at this point in his career, not necessarily the leadoff hitter that he once was. But continuing on with the list, you have Will Wagner at number 7, you have Ernie Clement at number 8, and you have Alan Roden cracking the opening day roster at number 9. I like this opening day lineup. The only thing I don't love is Andres Jimenez that 4 spot, but we're going to be really optimistic today. It is opening day. Baseball is back. It's been so long since we have watched meaningful Toronto Blue Jays baseball. We watched last Toronto Blue Jays game we watched was in October. Last meaningful Toronto Blue Jays baseball game we watched was probably like July. So nice to actually have a game where we have optimism. We can get excited about this team, and we're finally going to see some of those shiny new toys that we got in this offseason. The Max Scherzers eventually will pitch in the series. Anthony Santander we will see in the first inning. Andres Jimenez, hopefully we see in the first inning as well. Kevin Kiermaier, perfect candidate to throw the opening day pitch. Absolutely love to see it. Varsho catching it from him, obviously. I'm fired up. This is going to be an exciting time for the Toronto Blue Jays, and it's going to be a massive season for this organization, obviously with a lot up in the air. Let us know your comments, your thoughts, feelings, just how you guys are feeling right now going into opening day. Just, we're just waiting for the first pitch to come here. Jose Barrios, looking for a big day from him. For me, it really set in here with the opening day lineups. Like we've obviously previewing and setting up this stream for a long time. didn't really hit me until, again, I saw the boys running out on the field. I saw the haircuts. I saw Kevin Costner, 30 pounds of added muscle, according to Buck Martinez. Pretty fired up, obviously, for the start of the series, especially against the Baltimore Orioles. Going to be a big series to kick it off. Oh, God. And Austin Wells has already started the party in New York, it looks like. Leadoff home run for the New York Yankees. Obviously, Austin Wells coming off of a top 3 finish in AL Rookie of the Year voting. Not taking a whole lot to get back into the swing of things here. First AB home run. Maybe we can get a little bit of that from Bo Bichette, who was absolutely raking in the spring. Was pulling the ball a whole lot more. We're going to see if that translates into the season. But we talked about on the podcast, Bo Bichette going to be a massive part of this team. Whether they are successful, whether they are not successful, Bo Bichette is going to be right in the middle of that. If we get the regular Bo Bichette returning, I think this team is going to have a great chance of at least competing for a playoff spot. If you don't get Bo Bichette back to the Bo Bichette that we had from 2021 to 2023, things are going to be tough, and it's going to be tough sledding ahead once again. Yankees baseball just tearing us down real quick. 2-0 count, first inning. What are you going to do, unfortunately? I didn't realize that Austin Wells was leading off for the New York Yankees. I think that's a little bit wild, but, clearly it is paying off because, first AB home run. Jazz Chisholm thought he would have been higher up in the lineup. Jason Dominguez, going to see how that kind of pans out. Here we go. How are you guys feeling? Leave it in the comment section as well. What are you looking to see from the Toronto Blue Jays this year? Give us a bold prediction as well. We've been going over a lot of bold predictions on the podcast, obviously, with the season coming up as we go on today. We have the first game of baseball. We've gone just a ton of previews. We've done pretty much everything you could possibly preview with a baseball team. Obviously, we do podcasts every single day. We have a lot of content to share with you guys. So just we're looking to get the different perspectives, looking at what you guys are hoping to see from this baseball team in 2025. What I'd like to see early on is Anthony Santander. That was a big acquisition, obviously, in this offseason. I think if you get Santander, get that Kevin Kiermaier experience from last year, they're obviously going to be doing it in different ways. The Kevin Kiermaier, if you guys remember, first time in the Rogers Center, robs a home run at the wall. The Anthony Santander rendition of that would be a home run if you get it in the first couple of ABs. Especially from the left-handed side and looking for a left-handed power bat. Anthony Santander, switch hitter. But if you can hit a home run from the left side, that is something the Blue Jays have been missing for a very long time and is going to go absolutely viral on Blue Jays Twitter, Blue Jays social medias. Everyone is going to be very fired up if you get a Tony Taylor's home run opening day. And as you guys know as well, figured cleaning up some of the housekeeping before the first pitch goes here as well. We're going to get back into the shorts. We're looking to come at you guys with a lot of post-game recaps. So stay tuned for those live streams. We're going to kind of see how you guys react to this one. I'm open to doing more live streams, more watch parties, things like that throughout the season. Probably have to pick set days. I'm definitely not going to be doing it every single day. But if it's like a Friday or maybe a Saturday once in a while, we can get some of the people together. There's a big game. Maybe the New York Yankees are coming to town later on in the season. If there's playoff implications, those are the games definitely later on. Probably more prone to going live to. Obviously, opening day, going to have to do that. And then, just throughout the season, let us know how you are feeling about the possibility of some more live streams coming to you. We got Braden back on the podcast here. One thing I kind of wanted to jump into, didn't have the opportunity to do that yet, but I'll throw one question over to you quickly here. Out of all the new additions on the Toronto Blue Jays, I guess you have Andres Gimenez, you have Jeff Hoffman. Who are you the most excited to see opening day?
Anthony Santander. Without a doubt, it's Anthony Santander. Again, we were looking for that power bat, right? Who is going to be able to bring some home runs to this team? Anthony Santander is that guy. He has to be that guy. Obviously, Silver Slugger last season. You need him to be good. And so, without a doubt, that's my answer.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said if Anthony Santander can do the Kevin Kiermaier experience from last year, obviously they would do it in different ways. Kevin Kiermaier, first time at the Rogers Center in a Blue Jays uniform, robbing a home run at the wall. Not going to expect Santander to do that. But if you get a home run in the first couple of at-bats, that would be the Santander difference. That would be a great way to become a fan favorite early on in Toronto. But there was one thing did want to go over, was kind of wait for you to come back to do this one. With Alan Roden, Miles Straw, and Jacob Barnes making the roster, there was going to be some 40-man transactions. And we did this a little bit off camera. We didn't have time to throw it in the podcast. Again, all the previews, all like the Orioles stuff, just things that came out. We did the double podcast with Skyler and Down. A lot of stuff to cover. Didn't have time to do this. Figured we could save it for the live stream. So obviously, yeah, Jacob Barnes, Alan Roden, and Miles Straw selected to the MLB roster. Make Ryan Burr and Eric Swanson placed on the 15-day IL. Those were expected. Dalton Varsho placed on the 10-day IL. That was expected as well. So we kind of went over our 3 DFA candidates. This was off camera. We both had Nick Robertson being DFA'd. This didn't really make a lot of sense. It was one of the guys when you look at the 40-man, you're like, this guy's still on the 40-man. That actually surprises me. Zach Pop, interesting DFA. I did not have that coming whatsoever, especially when you're going to give this guy an arbitration contract in the offseason. Clearly, they wanted to see something from Zach Pop this spring training. Didn't really get that, and you throw the injury kind of on top of it. I think the leash kind of ran out for Zach Pop. And then the other one is Tommy Nance. And when you have Jacob Barnes, I figured you'd have another reliever that was taken off the 40-man. Didn't necessarily think it would be Tommy Nance. Figured it would be a reliever, but this one didn't surprise me as much. Zach Pop one, again, not that big of a deal because it is Zach Pop. But that one was a little bit surprising going into this 40-man roster.
Well, yeah, I think when you look at Zach Pop, I think why they gave him the offer was to see, because we even know that he brings electric stuff, right? Some of his movement on some of his pitches is really good. It's all about the location. And Zach Pop just couldn't really put everything together. And so I think at the end of the day, that's why they moved on from him. I think they gave him a chance. They gave him an opportunity. They didn't see what they wanted to see. And this is where we are. I don't hate any of these moves. The Nance one is sort of whatever. Would you have rather had him or somebody else? I don't know. Maybe. Again, it's hard for me to tell with some of these fringe guys. It becomes down to who the club is more comfortable with and who they could see being a part of this team for the long term, right? Not just 10 games, but hey, who could we want to bring back later? I think that's where they're putting a little bit of stock into some of the guys that they did decide to keep on the 49.
Yeah, and I also think that, like, not as much with the Zach Pop one, but going back to the Ryan Yarbrough thing, I think a lot of that was Ryan Yarbrough obviously not wanting to be in AAA either, wanted to be with a major league club. So you got to respect other players' wishes as well, especially when you have a minor league invite to spring training. If that player has a chance to crack an opening day roster somewhere else, which maybe Zach Pop might be able to fit in somewhere in somebody's bullpen. But I think for the majority of these players, Tommy Nance probably not making an opening day roster. Nick Robertson probably not making an opening day roster. And clearly they liked what they saw from guys like Jacob Barnes. Clearly they liked what they saw from Ryan Burr. Amir Garrett, they signed earlier this offseason. Richard Lovelady, the guys that they did keep around. Clearly there was a reason that they did do that. We just got to hope and trust that this front office did make the right decision. But as we've seen, obviously that is a little bit harder to actually do when we see some of the moves that they have been making. But yeah, the Toronto Blue Jays taking the field for the first time in 2025. On just a minute, got the shades on the back of his hat. Absolutely love to see it. This infield defense, if you can get Bo Bichette continuing to go kind of on the uphill grind, Vladdy is complete. It's so weird talking about Vladdy defensively. Some people see that Gold Glove and they think that he is that Gold Glove defender. Some people think he's absolutely horrendous. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm more on the horrendous side, but we've done a lot of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Contract talks, just a lot about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in general. Most of it is offensive stuff, but defensively, I think this is the one of the guys that with the Toronto Blue Jays, you get takes that are all over the map.
Yeah, and I think that's understandable. Again, I think we've seen Vlad be good or decent, and we've seen Vlad be horrible. So it's just what Vlad you're going to get on that specific day. And again, we don't need Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to go make unbelievable, outstanding plays. Catch the baseball, and I'm happy enough. Just don't completely fan on them like the one last season. At the end of the day, your Vlad's there for his bat. He's got to be okay defensively. Other than that, you want him to hit home runs and not have to overly worry about being a Gold Glove defender. I don't think anybody needs Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to be a Gold Glove defender.
Just catch the ball at first base.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. Just catch the ball at first base, make the routine plays. Boo must die in the comments here. It says anything more fitting about baseball right now than the Dodgers being 2-0 opening day. And the Yankees getting just, a lot. I'm going to say it's luck. I'm not watching the game, obviously, but Austin Wells, first AB, hits a home run. They're up 1-0. I'm going to throw that in there as well. And just who would have thought that, those two things would have happened opening day. Vladdy is a below average defender with bouts of spectacular defensively. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think he's, again, you'll make most of the routine plays, and then you're not seeing anything crazy spectacular a lot of the time from Vladdy. Maybe the odd diving play. But it's more like the flashy plays with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's not making like the ones that, maybe just raining to his left and making that tough backhand play. He's either going all out, diving for the ball, or he's just getting hit right to him and he's making the play.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about before. I think that's a bang-on comment because that's exactly what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is. So, again, I'm just sort of now as the game's going on getting dialed in here.
Brain has already lost $500 because the first pitch was a ball instead of a strike. So that's a dent into the FanDuel account, unfortunately. But
no, didn't bet on that, thankfully. It's something stupid like that I would bet on. That's the problem. I'm just seeing if Jose Barrios can get it done first AB here. What are you thinking here, Carter? Punch out or what?
I mean, I'd absolutely love to see it. I think it's just we're going to get a ground ball. It's going to be the Andres Jimenez. It's going to be a pulled ground ball. We're going to see the first flash of spectacular defense in the infield.
Okay.
At least from the second base position. You could say that happens all the time from the first base position. Maybe you're a Ernie Clement guy, third base, but I mean, I like seeing 96 from Barrios early on. Yes, fourth pitch. Guy that, we expect to sit from 94, high side 96. Opening day, you'll have to see the fastball eating, at least right now.
Bang, punchy.
Get the ABS. We need it.
Oh, you're behind me.
I'm at a 3-2 count right now.
Oh,
so I'm probably a little bit behind you, it looks like. Barrios is just about to throw right now. He's doing his wind up. He just threw. I'm a good pitch probably behind you.
Yeah, that's awesome for me.
Yeah, the reactions are going to be absolutely ruined for me here. Guess the studio games, you guys got like the 10-second advance time on the real public here. So
that's what it is. Yeah, we get everything about 10 seconds early. So
that's why you're always on the phone. You always got FanDuel. You're getting it 10 seconds early. You got that 10 seconds to hammer it into your account quick.
No, that's a lie. No,
that's what we'll say anyway. We don't want to blow the cover right now. At least early on in the season. It's only opening day. You got 161 more games after this.
That's right. You know what? I gotta dip out of here again. I will be back in a couple minutes.
Sounds good. That's 2 pitches already. He's thrown 8 pitches, 2 on the black that he's not getting. Looks like a smaller strike zone today. I'm expecting big things from Jose Barrios this year. I know they've only thrown 8 pitches, but even before this, Jose Barrios is the most consistent pitcher by far on the Toronto Blue Jays. This is probably the one guy on the starting rotation I'm just never worried about going out there. I know with the Jose Barrios experience, he's probably going to give up 1 home run today, and it is going to be the hardest hit ball of all time. But I can almost guarantee you at minimum, opening day, he's going to go 5 innings. He's only going to allow at most 3 runs. This is why I had him as the opening day pick. Kevin Gausman is a guy that, oh no. And there it is. I just spoke it into existence. The home run ball early on from Jose Barrios. Yeah, Barrios meatball. I was just talking about that. The Jose Barrios experience. Almost every single start, going to give up that solo shot, going to give up that long ball. You see it literally every single game, like you said, Boo. That's just right down the middle, unfortunately. That's just a sinker directly over the plate to Adley Rutschman, which you cannot do in the first inning of opening day. But that's the Jose Barrios experience. I expect to bounce back now as I was going into. Jose Barrios, always a guy that goes 5-6 innings, always gives up that long ball. Going to be around, again, 2-run start. But, yeah, not exactly what you want to see. to Adley Rutschman. It's unfortunate. Just unfortunate to say the least. And we've talked about this on the podcast before as well. Like you've Gunnar Henderson out. You have all these pitchers out. You have Grayson Rodriguez, Tyler Wells, Andrew Ketteridge. You can go down the list farther and farther. They got to take advantage of this series. They got to take advantage of this depleted Orioles lineup. And they got to take advantage of the AL East this year. And it's a tough division. Jordan Westberg laces a single into right field. Not a good start for Jose Barrios right now. But again, it's only 3 hitters in. Still remaining optimistic. But what I was going to say is you got to take advantage of these AL East teams. You went 21-31 against the AL East last season. That is not going to play if you want to make the playoffs. You're giving, obviously, the AL. Every time you lose a game to an AL East team, they're winning a game, you're losing a game. That's a 2-game swing. You add those up over time. That is going to affect your playoff odds drastically. You have 3 X, 2 walks, next 4 innings coming up. Yeah, I expect him to dial back in here, even though Westberg just had that single as well. I'm still confident in the Jose Barrios start. We have seen this so many times before, so we just got to stay grounded, just trust in Jose. I think we'll be all right here, just depending on what the offense does. Maybe you get a little bit of an answer back, and we get either like a Vladdy or a Santander bomb from the next inning. Switch hitter is at least a switch hitter, so you get Santander in there. That is massive, Bo. Good play. We'll take it. 1 run. Hard contact all over the place, which is classic Jose Barrios as well. Well, we needed that, though. We will absolutely take it. Line drive straight to Bo Bichette. Going to see a lot of interesting at-bats today. Santander, obviously, in a Blue Jays uniform. You get Andres Jimenez right after that. I'm really excited to see Alan Roden. I want to see him do some damage today. Ernie Clement raking in the spring as well. Another guy. Hopefully he can have some good at-bats. You look throughout the lineup. Hopefully we get some stolen bases. I want to see it like early on again. It's the first game. Maybe this is asking a little bit too much, but the David Popkins experience, how that's going to differ from Guillermo Martinez last season. Is there a different change in the offense this year? Are they going to play more small ball? Is there going to be more hit and runs? Are they going to steal more bases? I think that will be interesting to see early on how this Blue Jays offense responds to the new hitting coach and just the new additions in the offseason.
So what? I leave for like 3 minutes and a home run gets hit? Great play by Bo, by the way.
Yeah, great heads-up play.
Yeah, good heads-up play.
I'm going to try to sync up with you, Carter. Yeah, apparently I'm behind everybody, it looks like.
You know,
unfortunate news for me here, but...
We were having problems with the TV, though, hey? Like, with before we went on, for some reason, it must be like a Wi-Fi thing, because our Wi-Fi was horrible again last night when we were recording the pod for this morning. So... I don't know what's going on, but yeah, that sucks, Carter.
Yeah, even as you're talking right now, there's a few times. Hopefully for the viewers, it's good, but for me, you kind of cut out a little bit. That's definitely a me thing. I think you're definitely fine with the Wi-Fi at the studio. I have trouble with even just setting up the TV, getting the game on.
Wi-Fi here sucks, so it very well could be. Yeah, we're on the 30th floor, so I don't even know if we get like actual cell service here.
Yeah, there's probably a few people, obviously, on that Wi-Fi. Should be more than the Wi-Fi in our triplex, at for Central Time. So we're at 248. Obviously, you guys in Toronto, 348. But midday, you wouldn't think the Wi-Fi would be this bad. But hey, we got the game on. We got the live stream going, obviously. And I was just talking about the Jose Barrios classic starts and how you get the hard contact. You're probably going to give up that one moon ball. And as soon as I say that, you get the Adley Rutschman moon ball. But I'm still confident this guy's going to go 5 innings, 6 innings, probably going to give up like 2-3 runs max. It's just the Jose Barrios experience. So it's unfortunate that had to happen in the first inning. But hey, at least we got it out of the way early.
To Adley, too. Brutal.
And it's a sinker right down the middle. It's an absolute meatball.
No, yeah, it was not a good pitch. No. But again, like you said, that's what we see from Jose Barrios. I don't think anybody's shocked that he gives up a home run first game of the year. That's going to happen with him.
You have to show more Blue Jays fans this stat. 625 hits since 2021 for Bo Bichette. That is 5th in the AL. But apparently Blue Jays should not be extending Bo Bichette to some fans. And I do not understand the Bo Bichette hate whatsoever. I'm never been on the side of that. Even when like last year when people were saying his at-bats looked unserious, which they sort of did. But people are saying didn't look confident out there, but didn't look like he even cared out there. I was never even on that stance. I've always been a Bo Bichette kind of ride or die.
I was on that stance.
Yeah, you were saying you're having some crazy takes around that time.
The at-bats last year at some points looked horrendous. Like he was swinging a ball 4 feet out of the zone. Like it was Javi Baez looking swings at some point. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, no hate towards Bo. Like I said, I think he's a great player and this team needs him. Some swings looked terrible last year.
Yeah, there was a few swings, especially on sliders. I found her like breaking pitches outside that just kind of just throwing the bat through the zone. But again, it's tough to get back into the swing of things when the whole season is going so bad for not only yourself, but your entire team. Toronto Blue Jays pretty much out of a playoff spot at that time when he's trying to come back as well. The lingering injuries, I think a ton of things went wrong for Bo Bichette. It's tough to have a smile on your face when you're having the worst season of your career and one of the worst seasons as a Toronto Blue Jay as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what happens.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know what I'm trying to listen to actually what's going on the radio, plus watch the Blue Jays game, plus listen to what you're saying.
So do you have like right now? You obviously got the mic in front of you. I'm assuming you have like a boom arm. Like there's nothing, like no TVs, like where your camera is.
No, so I usually sit there.
Okay.
My mic's there, all my computers are there, and then the TV's there. But
you got your own office.
What?
Look at this guy has his own office. Got 30 monitors in there. Got all the March Madness games on. Look at that. That is the beautiful city of Winnipeg for all of the people from Toronto looking to move to Winnipeg. But here it is. We got to dial in for this at bat. Anthony Santander, Tony Taters against his former team, Zach Eflin. Again, that matchup, not as much a former team, obviously being traded from the Rays last year, but this is a guy that, again, the season stems a lot on this guy's offensive production. If he can get a lot like that, bring that home run power to this Toronto Blue Jays lineup. Not necessarily 44 is needed, but 44 would obviously be awesome to see.
If he hits 44, Carter, I don't know. I'll do something.
I'm fine with 35. Like even like for me, if he's over 30, honestly, I'm okay with it. I want 35, but if he's over 30, I'm fine.
Yeah, you're probably looking for mid-30s, but I agree.
So you got to assume you're getting 30 from Vlad, and then just have some of the guys throughout your order pick it up a little bit with the power. Like Varsho should be a 20 home run guy. If Springer could be, if you can get 15 from Springer this year, I think you're okay with that. Some of the other guys, like if you get Will Wagner consistent at bats, maybe he gets 10, 15. We'll have to see. David Schneider could be another guy, a little bit of pop off the bench.
Yeah, not the best first inning there, but
no, that's not great.
You know,
that's the tribute to Zach Pop right there. That little pop up in the infield.
The swing that Bo had, really, I thought was a great swing, great hit. It just hung up a little bit too long. But that's the Bo Bichette swing that you want to see, right? Him hitting Oppo. That's what we're looking for. So it's nice to see that at bat. The Vlad and Santander one were sort of whatever, but.
Going into the season, I thought they were going to experiment a little bit more with the top of their lineup. Opening day makes sense. You get their best three players hitting in the order. But that's going to hit so hard throughout the season if this is the lineup that we do have. Just having Bo Bichette, Vladdy, and Santander back to back to back, like that is a great feeling to have. And last year we didn't really have I didn't have a lot of feelings that like when say Aaron Judge comes in the box, like you're kind of scared as a Blue Jays fan, right? You're thinking at any point this guy can hit a bomb. Juan Soto comes up, Bobby Witt, those kind of players, like you're scared of when they're in the box. We had Vladdy last year. Other than that, like there's no stretch of hitters on this team. At least last year there wasn't, where you were like, oh no, there can actually be some damage done here. It was like if you pitch around Vladdy, you get around him, and then you have you have George Springer. Like you really didn't have anyone behind Vladimir Guerrero Jr. last year that was threatening whatsoever. It was Alejandro Kirk and then maybe Will Wagner at the end of the season. Spencer Horwitz in there, but again.
Well, and that's why we needed a power bat. And I'm going to keep going back to that. Probably the most important addition to this team was Anthony Santander, and I don't think it's a hot take. Him adding pop and giving Vlad some protection is the key here. That's what's going to a little bit give a boost to this offense, and obviously the home runs as well.
Here, I'm going to fire off some of the comments that we did have here. I don't expect Jimenez to hit. His 2022 season was...
I'm going to rip another break here. I'll be back.
Okay. That sounds good. I don't expect Jimenez to hit. His 2022 season was an unbalanced schedule, essentially faced the 22nd ERA pitching staff on average, basically faced the Jays from last year on average. Yeah, if you got the Jays bullpen relatively on average, you're going to put up good numbers. I'm not that in on Andres Gimenez either. I think that we've kind of seen what Andres Gimenez is, and it wasn't the 2022 season. I think the stolen bases is obviously going to be a nice thing for this team. I think second base, the Gold Glove defense, the Platinum Glove defense, you can argue, it's there. It's obvious. You can't ignore that defense. It's going to help the Toronto Blue Jays. It's going to help them in the WAR standings as well. But this team does need middle of the order depth. They need guys in the middle of the order to step up, whether it's Kirk, Varsho, Jimenez. I'm much more confident saying that Kirk is going to have a better season, that Varsho is going to have those seasons that they can step up and have that middle of the order type production rather than a guy like Andres Gimenez. That's why I'm really surprised they had him coming out hitting cleanup on opening day. But there was a lot of talk saying that they wanted Andres Gimenez over Alejandro Kirk just because of the double play talks. And then again, the stealing bases. You have Alejandro Kirk on first base. You have Andres Gimenez sitting after. Obviously, you're kind of losing that base running factor from Andres Gimenez. But on top of that, he had one of the highest difference between actual OPS and expected that season, top 10 last 3 years. Yeah, a little bit of a lucky season from Andres Gimenez. Obviously, the average was a very inflated batting average in balls in play. I'm not looking at stats, but I bet you that stat very high as well. That's usually a pretty good stat to figure out how lucky a hitter was. Just looking at the expected stats from 2022 for Andres Gimenez, not a lot of them going to favor long-term success for a hitter like that. And then Bo Bichette might have more money on the line than any player in baseball this season. Could get a $21 million qualifying offer or $250 million. Yeah, it's a very volatile season for Bo Bichette, but it's all in his hands. Everything that Bo Bichette is working towards, has been working towards, it's all on Bo Bichette. If you have a season like he did, any other season other than 2024, you're probably getting that Willie Adames type contract. You're probably even getting more than Willie Adames got. But if you get that season that even close to what it was last year, I'm not even sure what a Bo Bichette contract looks like. And I don't think it would come from the Toronto Blue Jays if Bo Bichette does not have a very good season. But I'm on the latter side of that. I think Bo Bichette is going to bounce back. I think Bo Bichette's going to have very good at-bats, be the Bo Bichette that we're accustomed to seeing. So I think Bo Bichette probably will get paid in this upcoming offseason. But what a world it would be if Bo Bichette, if he has like a 600, 650 OPS, I have no idea where you'd even start those contract negotiations. Maybe you take a flyer on him. It's probably like a 1-2 year deal. I don't think he's signing this massive extension. Probably signing another prove-it deal and then hoping to get paid in the next coming years of the offseason. But hopefully we just avoid all that and we just get a good Bo Bichette so we don't have to worry. This is not a good start for the Toronto Blue Jays here, obviously. Ryan Mountcastle with a double. And now there is runners on third and second in the top of the second with nobody out. So Jose Barrios looking like he is struggling a little bit here. The command looked good to start, and also the velo seemed to be good. But the Baltimore Orioles jumping all over Jose Barrios early on. That's just a very good swing on an inside sinker, lining it into left field. This is a big spot in the game here. You need an out here. If it's a pop-up, great. Strikeout, even better. Something that doesn't drive in a run, you're okay with a fly ball here, but you really just got to limit damage. That's a great pitch. Let's think about this Blue Jays team this year. I think we're going to find out very quickly that if there are any holes on this team, who we could trust, who we can expect to have a good year. And that is a play that can't be made. You got to get an out there. Oh, my God. You get that slight hesitation from Vladdy and Jose Barrios not really busting it to first base. Reminded me a little bit of Garrett Cole from the playoffs. Obviously not the same situation, but as a pitcher there, any ground ball to that first base side, you got to be hustling to first base. You got to get an out there. And I think if you're Vlad, you got to be looking first initially, but Barrios isn't there anyway. That's, again, you just got to make a play. Vladdy, poor baseball IQ, didn't even look at the runner on second. Yeah, that's, again, I don't love going to third there. Again, I'd have to get a replay to see how, I guess, Mountcastle running is not the greatest runner, so maybe you do look at third. But I just think on that play, it's either you got to, okay, that is massive. That makes up for it a little bit there. Nail Mullins at second base, and that is our debatably Gold Glover catcher, one of the best catchers in all baseball, Alejandro Kirk, throwing people out. Vladdy, poor baseball IQ. I'm not going to dismiss that at all. We see Vladdy get picked off on the base pass. We've seen him just make horrific plays. I don't know if you go to third base there, but you have to make it out, especially against the Baltimore Orioles team that has a very good lineup. 79-83. We have seen a ton of those comments. I'm hoping you're wrong, but hey, the win total is at 78.5. And we're going to figure out who this Blue Jays team is, I think, in the first month. If this team is a playoff team or if they are similar to last year. Brios is scaring me, though, right now. I will say that. He's hanging a lot of pitches over the middle third of the plate here. Two runners for a third before he tossed the ball. Brios, yeah, I mean, that's an automatic out then. If you have, like, you just throw the ball at third base, you have Ernie Clement there, you have major league players, they're not going to screw that up. You're getting either the guy at third, you're getting the guy at second. I think that might be the reason why you have a little bit of that delay going to first base, but Jose Brios not there anyway. Just a collapse defensively, a little bit of a mental lapse from the Toronto Blue Jays, which is what we have seen throughout these past few seasons with a few specific players. That's the thing. The team just keeps going. They keep adding to their defense, but we're still seeing these mental errors on the defensive side of the ball. And a lot of the time, it is from the Toronto Blue Jays superstars. That's a big pitch. Okay, that's big from Brios there. If you strand the runner at third, again, Brios not having a great start so far, but opening day, the reason I wanted Brios to start opening day is because I figured that he would eat innings, he would get into the ball game. Worst case scenario, opening days, you have your starter go 2-3 innings, and you got to eat into the bullpen early on, especially when you did let Ryan Yarbrough go. I think this might be an instance, again, you got to hope Jose Brios gets to like the fifth or sixth inning, but this might be an instance that you would use Yariel Rodriguez in. You have him as the long man out of the bullpen. Don't want to do that, obviously, opening day. But this is a massive out to get here, or at least just don't allow the runner from third to score. I think you got to go after Jackson Holiday here, though. Young player early on in the season. I think you take the veteran matchup here with Jose Brios, and you let this guy eat. Have you guys ever been to an MLB game? I've been to I guess a series in Toronto when we went last year. Before then, I actually have not been to an MLB game. We're from Winnipeg, so Minneapolis usually is the closest one. Braden's been to a ton. He's been to Yankees games, Dodgers games, been to Minneapolis. So that's the guy that you can ask about a lot of the baseball experiences at stadiums, things like that. But I've only been to 3 when we went to Toronto last year. But Braden has been to a ton. But yeah, Minneapolis is the closest place for us, obviously about 9 hours away. So not exactly the most convenient thing, but hey, for Blue Jays baseball, usually it is Minneapolis. Excuse to go to the States as well. How about you, Boo? Do you go to a lot of Toronto games? Are you from Toronto? Are you from a different place? Where do you live? Not a boy. Okay, not a great trend to start the game. You know, if it continues to go like this, we're going to lose 9-0. But at least Jose Brios is able to strand that runner at third base, especially when you're allowing runners on third and second with no outs in the second.
Yeah, and I know you guys were talking about the Vlad play there. Just not a smart play whatsoever.
By
I
like
don't know.
multiple people, it seemed like.
Yeah, that was just terrible. Whatever. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? Like right now, it's okay. Whatever. It's 2 runs. You need to score probably more than 2 runs to win a baseball game anyway. But you can't have these things pile up. And I know it's game 1. You don't want to overreact to anything. But I think the difference was with this year is you wanted this team to come in here and set a tone. And right now there is 0 tone being set. Obviously, you go 3 up, 3 down in the first inning. Jose Brios not having the best start so far. Some pitches were okay. I don't think besides the meatball, there wasn't really any terrible pitches. Like the inside sinker was a decent pitch. I think they just got around on it. So whatever. Again, we'll have to wait and see how this sort of continues throughout the game here.
Yeah, it's tough to overreact when you're an inning and a half into the baseball game. But it feels like, again, maybe a little bit of overreaction again because it is early on. But it feels like we're seeing very early on a lot of the same things that we did see last year. Some of these mental errors, just the hard contact from Jose Barrios. I'm not as worried about the Jose Barrios stuff because it's just stuff we see every single year. But it's those mental errors. It's those little plays that do end up mattering in a baseball game. You get another out there. Maybe you do save another run. Toronto Blue Jays lose by 1 run. That's 1 game already in the first game of the season that you could have won. And again, especially against an AL East opponent, I was talking about how much those games matter as well. Not what you want to do early on, especially when, again, this is going to be the storyline of this series, is that you have a depleted Orioles team. You want to get ahead of them early. Not the way you wanted to start your opening day in 2025.
Yeah, that's exactly the point, right? You wanted to take advantage of a depleted team, and if you can't get on this team and beat this team, how are you going to beat this team when they're fully healthy? So that's going to be the question that probably we look throughout this entire series here with the first series against the Orioles, and who really shines in the first couple games. That's going to be another thing I look for. As this sort of progresses. Make sure you guys tune into the podcast tomorrow where we sort of really break down everything, go into a deep dive. Because, we might be live this whole game. We might not be. I'm sort of leaving that up to Carter's discretion, whatever he wants to do, because I'm really in and out with work here. But we'll go way more in depth on all of this tomorrow's episode. So hopefully you guys are enjoying watching and enjoying the little bit of the live stream we got going here. Just a little bit of a watch party. It's opening day. I'm not overreacting to anything. I'm just sort of trying to really enjoy baseball being back right now, and I hope that's what you guys are doing too, and not really nitpicking everything so far. Because I think, again, it's game 1. Let's see what this team looks like at game 5. Bernie's going yard today, 20 on the season for Clement. Ooh, okay.
See, I'm not going to overreact right now when the game's going on, but for the podcast, I'm probably going to overreact tonight. That's just what's going to happen. We only got one game to analyze against spring training. You can kind of go into that and how it continues on through the regular season. But I'm going to remember this game. I'm not going to remember what happened in spring training. So I'm probably going to overreact a little bit. But hey, that's what the early onset of the season is for. If you get a guy that goes 2 for 4, he's going to hit 500 and have the greatest season of all time. That's just how it works when you're early on in an MLB season. But early on, you have Zach Eflin, who is right now being very efficient. Again, he's only an inning and a third through. But you got to get the pitch count up, especially in a 4-game series. Only game I was at was almost 30 years ago. Chili Davis, that's awesome. Hit a walk-off for the Angels. That was, man, what an era of baseball that would have been. But I can't believe it's been that long since you've been to a game. You got to obviously try to head back out there if you're going to like a White Sox game, obviously that's not really what you're looking for this year. But Chili Davis, Angels. Yeah, Ernie's going off today. I would love to see Ernie Clement go off. Like, what's the closest ballpark to you though, Boo? Is it like Los Angeles? Like, are you from around LA, or are you from like closer to the eastern coast there? Yeah, our main two is we could go to Toronto and we go to Minneapolis. Other than that, like even Toronto is pretty obviously very far. It's pretty much just Minneapolis. Anywhere else, like you're really taking the trip, and you might as well go see the Jays games, but also do a lot of other things there if you're going to make the trek. Like when we went to Toronto, Seattle. Oh, you live in Alberta. Oh, okay, awesome. Like Seattle would be a great. Like I want to go there so badly. I don't know if there ever be a time to go to Seattle, but I think that ballpark, just the atmosphere there. I know a lot of Canadians, obviously with Seattle, like the BC fans, a lot of them trek out there. It's almost like a second home for the Toronto Blue Jays. So I bet the atmosphere there is definitely an interesting thing, not only for like Mariners fans to see, but just other Toronto Blue Jays fans that do go there, kind of taking it over a little bit. Yeah, absolutely love to see it. And as for this live stream, Braden said it's kind of up to me when I'm going to duck in, duck out. I'm pretty open right now. If we get people, continuing to participate, and the Jays game obviously goes well, then I will stay live for a long time. But if the game kind of tampers off, maybe we get like not as much participation in the chat, things like that. We'll see, because obviously we do have a short that we want to get out today. Do have a podcast that we're going to record after this as well. So there's going to be a ton of different takes. Perceptions, just our reactions to opening day, the roster, probably talk about some 40-man stuff. Just a little bit of the stuff that we covered today will be an overlap in today's episode. We're going to obviously try to keep it fresh and mostly on the game stuff. So, but yeah, will be a little bit of an overlap, obviously, between the two. But we haven't really gone into the starting rotation as much as I wanted to this week. Again, so much stuff to go over. We had the lineups, the roster construction. We had the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. news that we're going to see, I think, throughout the entire season. So we didn't really have a ton of time to kind of break down the starters and what we wanted to see from them. So I think either next week or maybe for tomorrow's episode, we're going to kind of focus on that. But obviously with opening day, still a lot of stuff to cover, some game stuff. Obviously, we're probably going to talk about that Vladdy play on the podcast, stuff that does come out throughout the game. And if you guys in this live stream have any ideas, anything you guys want us to talk about, feel free to leave it in the comment section as well. Because, yeah, we were having a little bit of a calm before the storm. We were being a little bit inactive on the shorts, things like that. Obviously, the podcast streams are always going to be coming out every single day. The podcast is never going to be stopping that. But we figured the 162 game schedule ahead of us, we would take a little bit of time to enjoy the spring training, enjoy a little bit of time off. Now we're fully ready, fully diving in to the Toronto Blue Jays season. My friends would do a playoff run, and we're like 2 rows in and 10 seats away from the guy that threw the beer at the Orioles outfielder. Wow, that's crazy. Just imagine, like, I've seen the clips of that, obviously, but seeing that live just would have been absolutely wild. That's hilarious that you were that close to that, though. See, one thing I always think about when I think about like cool moments, obviously that's a little bit of a different moment that I'm going to go into, because we don't like love fans throwing beers at outfielders, even though it is kind of a funny story. But like imagine just being in one of those Toronto Blue Jays big moments. Like I always think about the Jose Bautista bat flip, just being in the Rogers Center there. Like I get chills just watching that clip. Like whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is. But imagine being there in that environment would be absolutely insane. That's one thing on my bucket list, is definitely going to a playoff game at the Rogers Center. And hopefully we do get that this year. I don't know if I would end up attending. We'd have to talk about that with some of our friends, obviously, and stuff as well. I've been a ton of interest. And the Toronto Blue Jays obviously have to make the playoffs for us to be able to go to a Rogers Center playoff game. So we got to, get there, and we'll make the plans as we see this season progress. Got to get to the playoffs before we can start making those plans. And that's just the first baseball game of the year. It's my first fantasy check of the year. right, we'll take that. Good frame. He loses Cowser again. Not you got to get these guys early on in the inning. The leadoff batter has reached every single inning. That's not usually a recipe for success. One thing with this Baltimore Orioles lineup again early on, but just how deep their lineup is, just how and they're young guys, just how obviously they have a ton of top prospects. Colton Cowser looks like he's going to be so good. We obviously know about Adley Rutschman. Gunnar Henderson's not even in this lineup. Jordan Westberg, like Jackson Holiday is hitting 9 in their lineup. Absolutely insane. Just a lot of bright spots in this Baltimore Orioles lineup. A very bright future ahead, especially offensively. Like we talk about the pitching staff and how the Toronto Blue Jays should take advantage of that. This lineup still rakes. This is still a very good lineup. And this is still why I have the Baltimore Orioles winning the AL East this season. I think they kind of put it together a little more. They're going to get helped out down the line. Probably making a starting pitching trade at the deadline as well. So if they could hang around with this lineup, I think they will be able to do that. It's going to be one of those teams that the Toronto Blue Jays want to compete in the AL East. Going to have to put up some good competition against them. Rios needs a double play ball so bad here. Like we need TaylorMade, Andres Jimenez to Bo Bichette to Vlad just to get things going here. We'll be hearing hopefully a lot of that throughout the season. Oh, that pitch scared me. 1-2 right down the middle. Not what you want. Another one. They seem to be all over him early on. What two teams do I think are overrated and underrated? I'll go through a couple of them. I think right now, the Boston Red Sox, that's for the AL East. The Boston Red Sox have been picking up a lot of steam. I'm a little bit saying pump the brakes on them. Like some people are saying AL East winners. I think they have a very good shot at competing for the wild card. I think they probably are better than the Toronto Blue Jays. Have them finishing higher than the Blue Jays in my standings rankings. But I think the Boston Red Sox, again, depending on who you ask, I think they're going to be like a wild card team. So if you have people saying they're going to be the best team in the AL when the AL East, I've seen that. I think that is overrated. And if you think they're not going to play the playoffs, I think you're underrating the Boston Red Sox. The Tampa Bay Rays is like a lot of people that at least I've been talking to don't think the Rays are going to be good whatsoever. I always find the Rays are such a sneaky team. Shane McClanahan is out on the 15-day IL start the season, but I think they have the pitching back. Drew Rasmussen is going to come back. I think that could be a team that is very good as well. And I'll kind of go through with a couple other ones that I can go over here. With the Guardians, I think the Guardians will be good again. People are high on the Detroit Tigers. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on Detroit here. I don't think they're that good. I think even last year in the playoffs, they didn't look that good to me either. I think a lot of what they did is not going to carry over into the 2025 season. They just didn't make that big move that we were expecting to kind of bolster that lineup. I think like an Alex Bregman, they were really into. If they could have got Alex Bregman, that would have been a very good move for them. The White Sox are going to be bad. The Athletics, I'm starting to buy the hype a little bit there. I think the Mariners might win the AL West. Maybe that's a little bit of a hot take. I think the Mariners are going to be a very good baseball team. I think the Astros take a step back. I think they lost too much this year. I don't think they're going to be as good. And then just going into the NL, Pirates not going to be that good. I think the Reds could surprise a few people this season. I think that'd be another team. I'm high on the D-backs. I think the D-backs are going to give the Dodgers at least a little bit of a run for their money in that division. I still think it is the Dodgers. I think when you have a lineup like that, it's tough to say the Dodgers are not going to win the division when you have that lineup and you have 10 starters in your rotation, or at least on your roster that could be in your rotation. I think it's going to be tough to put any team ahead of the Dodgers. Red Sox have 2 good starters now and like 8 other guys that can stay healthy. Bullpen might not be great to start. I think the Red Sox are one of the most well-rounded teams in the AL, but I think Tanner Houck is one guy I think is extremely overrated. He had a very good season last year. I think he's still good, but people are putting him in that ace category, top 2 starting pitcher on a rotation category. I don't think he's that good. Crochet is going to be massive, obviously. But yeah, like when you have, I think it's Liam Hendricks and Aroldis Chapman at the back of that bullpen, I'm not that excited about those two for the Boston Red Sox. But with Chapman, you either get the guy throwing 101 and he's on the black and he is one of the hardest pitchers in the league to face, or you have him walking the entire house. So you could pretty much tell that in the first 3 pitches of his outing.
Like I said this on the podcast many times already. I think the Boston Red Sox maybe aren't my favorite to win the division, but I think they're definitely my dark horse pick. Like I would keep an eye on them as some of the stuff you went into. I just think they're a good ball club and probably the most consistent ball club up and down the lineup. Not consistent. And deep isn't really the next. I think they're good in every aspect of their team, whereas other teams
they're just well-rounded. That's what I said.
Yeah. And this AL East division has some teams that are very heavy on some aspects, but not in others. So, Boston Red Sox are a team to definitely look out for. This is just going horribly. This is an absolute shell.
I wouldn't call it a shell yet. Like Barrios is definitely struggling.
Oh, just wait.
Oh, well, that's not exactly what I want to hear. I think based off what you said, I think I know what's going to happen here. Yeah. Tyler O'Neill, the Canadian. Backside home run to Barrios. Okay, I didn't expect this from Jose Barrios. I'm not going to lie. I was definitely wrong here. I don't know. Can you come back from 5-0 on opening day? It's happened before. We had that Rangers game a couple years ago. That's God, it's tough to see. But we had that Rangers game a couple of years ago that obviously the offense came back. That was a much different looking offense than it is right now. You have like Teoscar Hernandez in there. You have a bunch of power hitters. Matt Chapman's there. I don't know. I don't know if you can come back early on. This is like worst case scenario, I want to say. Like at least Barrios, like you're going to have to throw him. Like he's not coming out of the game. Like he's going to go at least 5 innings. Because again, you can't have your opening day guy go 3-4 innings and set your bullpen back early on.
No, they're just going to have to ride with it and hope he can figure it out. If not, well, there you go. There's day one.
Yeah, like if this is how it's trending, I don't know. Like I'm probably not going to stay alive the whole game, but we'll see. I'm still optimistic, but Barrios, I don't know. Like it's just the command. Like seems like it's a little bit all over the place right now. I feel like he's leaving a ton over the middle. That's not a bad pitch necessarily, but clearly they're on the sinker today.
Yeah. And you got to identify that right early, and that's the thing. You see what their guys are looking for. Obviously, they penciled that sinker as a pitch to look for, probably right. They didn't want to have to deal with his breaking stuff, so they penciled the sinker, and they're like, "Hey, this is what we're watching today," and good for them. That's what they watch.
Didn't they put a whooping last year on Eflin in Tampa? Yeah, they did. I think it was 5 1/3 innings. It was 5 or 6 runs that he gave up. So kind of what Barrios is trending to do right now. You got to get there. Well, Santander first catch as a Blue Jay. Congrats, I guess.
Hey, we already have some of our group chats are lighting up.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, we already have one of our probably using the group chat probably saying the season's over.
Yeah, this sucks.
They still, again, they have a chance, but you got to score runs here, and you got the bottom of your order. Like, at least Alan Rodin's coming up to the plate here. You get Will Wagner, some of your younger guys.
Yeah, see what the young guys can bring to the table for sure.
But yeah, if you want a chance to stay in this game, I mean, you're gonna have to put together at least a little bit of offense, and it's not even the offense. Just stop the bleeding.
Yeah, stop the
You
bleeding.
can't
Yeah,
you can't blame the offense in 2 innings, unfortunately. Yet maybe we can
no.
after 5, but
Yeah, again, if they've only scored 1 or 2 runs the entire game, that's hey, you guys got to do more. But if it ends up being a 7-6 ball game, you're gonna look at this and blame Barrios for this one.
I mean, let's be honest, we're just back. This is Blue Jays baseball. Like
It's
we're
like we
back.
never left, eh?
We're fully back. You'll love to see it.
Don't worry, man. They're showing people drinking at the Club 500 or whatever it's called,
Yeah, you
the
go
new
great.
lounge.
Yeah, the Club 328. Don't worry, the Jays are on 5-0 already, but hey, we got Club 328.
Yeah, hey guys, don't worry. The Blue Jays are down. Come down to here and drink your pain away.
You want to forget about opening day? We sure do. Come down here.
Jeez.
This might be the time you got to hit up Club 328. You got to hit up the Corona rooftop. Like, only good thing I see here is O'Neill. You can't be saying that this early on. O'Neill is on my Locked On Blue Jays fantasy team. We're not taking the fantasy takes early on. There's no little wins here. We're not taking the small victories. I don't care about your fantasy team early on. Man. This is why I don't take the Toronto Blue Jays, because I just expect pain from the Blue Jays all year. I don't want them to screw me over in my fantasy drafts as well.
That's exactly it. I went in our Locked On Blue Jays draft. I went no Blue Jays, and then in our friends draft, I went Gosman and Vladdy.
Yeah, so two are like the safer Blue Jays for sure. You picked the only my only thing with Vladdy is that I think you picked Vladdy at 10, and I think he's gonna have a great year. But I think Vladdy top 10 in fantasy, like that's just a lot of expectation to put on Vladdy picking him there. I don't think it's a bad pick, but that's why I went away from him there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good take overall. It's a tough one because you don't know if you should pull the trigger or not at that specific point. So, anyway, I gotta dip back out, and I'll be back in 10.
Yeah, every time you've dipped out
if
so
you're still
far,
here.
The game has gotten significantly worse. So we'll have to see if that trend continues. But hopefully not. Hopefully we see an Ernie Clement moonball as he can continue it on from spring training. Great year, obviously, last year from Ernie Clement. I have 3 guys that are like my dogs on this team that obviously I'm not counting Vladdy, I'm not counting Bo, because those guys are obviously like universally loved, I would say, for the most part, from the Toronto Blue Jays fan base. Maybe not as much Bo this year, but I'm a big Ernie Clement guy. Got there very early. Excited. That's one of the better takes I've had about the Toronto Blue Jays. Bowden Francis been big on him as well. Then I'm an Elvis Martinez guy as well. So 2 out of the 3 so far are working out pretty well, I want to say. But again, a lot of strides can be made this season. And if we're going to talk about the small victories again, I think an Alan Roden productive at bat might be a small victory that we're taking away from today's baseball game. But that's just how it goes. If the Toronto Blue Jays games don't go according to plan, you fall back to the fantasy team. That's why I do like having some fantasy teams. Usually I find that 2 to 4 leagues is somewhere in the sweet spot. I think 1 is not enough. I think 4 is on the borderline of being too many, because then you're going to have multiple leagues crossing over. You're going to have one guy that's going to help you in a league, and then you got the next guy who's helping in the same league that's going to hurt you in another. The matchups is just kind of a big headache. But yeah, if the Toronto Blue Jays games aren't going well, at least you can kind of fall back and hopefully have some fantasy team success early on. I saw that Tyler O'Neill, obviously home run that we just saw the other inning. And that just kind of makes me think that you look at this DH spot again. This is kind of maybe like an overreaction here. And like, I'm really just wishing things to happen. I'm kind of being a little bit too greedy here. But when we look at this Toronto Blue Jays DH position, and we don't really have we don't have an everyday DH. I'll just say that right now. We don't have a guy that you're going to run there every single day. When you see the Tyler O'Neill signing, I know he absolutely mashed this left-handed pitcher. Did hit a home run off already there, though. When you see that contract, when I think it was $15.5 million or $14.5, you think, why can't the Toronto Blue Jays do something like that? Why can't the Toronto Blue Jays go out and sign one of these players for that contract offer? Again, it's not as simple as that, but that is something that definitely leaks into my head when you see some of these contracts hopping off the board, like the Jurickson Profar one. Again, he probably doesn't want to be and just an everyday DH. I don't think that's good for the team or his career. But you got to think, hey, Jurickson Profar in this lineup for that amount of money probably would benefit the Toronto Blue Jays. Why couldn't they do that as well? But hey, we're early on. We still got a lot of time for the Toronto Blue Jays season. But yeah, seeing this lineup for the Baltimore Orioles, we got it's in real life. On paper is one thing, but seeing it in front of your face in the flesh, I think you can see right now that the Baltimore Orioles lineup is at least a little bit better than the Toronto Blue Jays. But again, a lot of season ahead of us. Got to expect some breakouts. Hopefully, we just get some offense. Let's score a run. That's the new goal for today's game. Let's get a run on opening day. Yeah, they got Santander. They do. And hopefully he can have a productive season. That's going to be one of the guys that, might have to fall back on in games like this. It is early on. We've got hope for a bounce back. But if things aren't going well, at least for opening day, say, hey, we got to see Anthony Santander in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform. And you think a little bit ahead, we're going to get to see Max Scherzer pitch, projected a pitch on that Saturday. That's what the schedule is right now. Don't think anything will change, obviously. So should see Max Scherzer pitch on the Saturday. So there's things to get excited about, but it's a lot more to get excited. It's a lot easier to be happy about a baseball team when you are winning the baseball game. And that's a moon ball. Oh, this is just being a Blue Jays fan. Oh, you get excited for opening day, and now it's 6-0 in the top of the fourth inning against a division rival. This feels a whole lot like last year early on. It's oh man, try not to have a little bit of a breakdown on the live stream here. What are we feeling? What like that? It's just again right down the middle. That's just what it is from Jose Barrios. Braden said like some of the pitches were on corner stuff. I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of lack of command here early on from Jose Barrios. Saw the velo, which is nice to see at 96. Getting a little bit higher than that, obviously, early on. But velo doesn't matter that much when you have Jose Barrios throw the ball right down the middle. I would kick the tires on Jesus Sanchez if Springer is done. I just don't know how you make a move for that. There's some prospects that you can move on from, but when we talk about the Toronto Blue Jays prospect pool and you compare it to other teams, it's in a lot of scenarios, I think the Toronto Blue Jays would be outbid for a massive power bat in this lineup. And I just don't think, you move on from George Springer early on. Maybe it's a trade deadline piece, but that contract is obviously something that Rogers is considering. You can't really just eat $25 million, especially over 2 seasons. But we're gonna have to see. It's tough not to overreact right now. Like I've overreacted probably like 8 times on this podcast on this live stream already. This is the only thing we're seeing. We're seeing a little bit of a beatdown live on the live stream, but you can't make decisions off the first game as hard as it is not to, as we're seeing the beatdown early. Did the Toronto Blue Jays, I think we have, 1 hit right now? The Jays have a hit. The Orioles have 6, 7. They have 2 home runs, 3 home runs. Wow. Yeah, 3 home runs already given up. I have to look up the Jose Barrios spray chart after this. I want to see where his pitches were located. Like, that's a good pitch there. But you can't live over the middle of the plate to a lineup that could be probably top 10 in baseball, especially when you get Gunnar Henderson back. Even right now, again, a lot of good pieces in this Baltimore Orioles lineup. You can't leave sinkers over the middle. I think he's also going to like sinkers his main pitch. He's going to throw four seams. He's going to throw sinkers a lot of the time, but it feels a little bit predictable. And when you're leaving sinkers again right over the middle early on, again, like that's too much of the plate for me, even against Jackson Holiday on a 1-2 count. Like you have a lot more room for error on in a 1-2 count. You don't have to go right after him. Again, a number 9 hitter, a little bit of a different scenario, but you've seen how this has worked already early on. You have Tyler O'Neill, number 5 hitter, taking you yard. Cedric Mullins, you try to get after early on, number 7 hitter. Not even a power hitter, takes you for a home run as well. Just not a good start from Jose Barrios, unfortunately. And that's, again, not at all what you wanted to see early on opening day. Looking at, especially after this offseason and going off of last year, you have the expectation. That's in, right? Okay, good. I almost thought that was another home run from Cowser. But the expectation right now is lower than it has been from the last few seasons. All people don't have the Toronto Blue Jays make the playoffs. The betting line to the Toronto Blue Jays is at 78.5. But and then you come out like this. It would have been such a statement to go out, and if you do this to the Baltimore Orioles, even if you're just competitive, if it's a 1-1 game, if you're down 2-1, whatever it is, the narratives are going to run wild for opening day. It would have been a nice statement to make for the Toronto Blue Jays and get the fans really involved in the Toronto Blue Jays team and organization this year if they could have started out with a win. Especially would have been nice if they could have started with a beatdown on the Orioles. But it looks like the way it's trending might be firing the other way for the Jays. I would have signed Brian De La Cruz. He got less than $1 million from the Braves. Just, again, as a depth guy, like right now, like would you rather have a guy like Brian Cruz on the roster, or would you rather have a guy like Nathan Lucas or like a Davis Schneider? Davis Schneider had a very good offseason. But I feel like there could have been one more move made as a power bat, as a guy that would have been another regular in this lineup, or just a DH that we could have fielded out and had a little bit more pop from the lineup. But clearly this front office is really relying on a bounce back from one or multiple of Alejandro Kirk, Andres Jimenez. There's one more. Dalton Varsho would be the other one. And then just some guys getting, having breakout seasons, taking that next step with the Will Wagners, the David Schneiders, hopefully can have a bounce back. Maybe Orells Martinez comes up, Alan Roden. I think that's where the front office is at. And I think that is going to be a tried and true formula for how this team does perform in 2025. I think, again, in the first couple of weeks, you're going to see where the Blue Jays have holes, if they do have any holes. And that is going to be one of the first things I think might be a problem on this baseball team, is the depth throughout the order. When you roll out Andres Jimenez cleanup opening day, we're going to look at this in maybe a year's time, 2 years' time, maybe in a week's time, we're going to be like, how are we excited about Andres Jimenez in the cleanup spot for a baseball team? This doesn't really make a lot of sense, unfortunately. But they'll have to figure it out, and we'll have to see how the season does progress. If you get a breakout from somebody, then you would throw them probably in that cleanup spot. I don't know if he went back-to-back last year, but he definitely went, I think, in back-to-back games. So, not at-bats, Spencer, mean back-to-back games. I think it's 3 home runs off the Jays now for Jackson Holiday. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section here, but in a small sample size for Jackson Holiday, he is definitely crushing the Toronto Blue Jays. But I mean, he hasn't been any of the damage today, which I mean, it's, again, if you're wanting small victories, that might be one for you there. But yeah, I mean, Jackson Holiday is hitting 9, and he's doing that well against the Toronto Blue Jays. They pretty much have now their own mini Santander now. The Blue Jay killer, as we saw last year with Santander and Ryan Mountcastle, another guy that commonly kills Toronto Blue Jays. Now we have Jackson Holiday that seems to be picking up the tradition, unfortunately. I wish we could just go back to the Baltimore Orioles, where it was like you play them and it'd be like not as much as best the Chicago White Sox, but it'd be like the Oakland Athletics. It'd be like not the Nationals anymore this year, or like the Colorado Rockies. Like you'd almost get like a free series win every time you played the Baltimore Orioles. Now you don't have that. You don't have anyone. Maybe it's the Toronto Blue Jays are that team in the AL East, but the Tampa Bay Rays would be the closest one to that. And I don't think the Tampa Bay Rays are anything to scoff at. I think they'll have at least a competitive year in that AL East. I don't think there's going to be any team in the AL East that wins below 70 games. So I think everyone's going to kind of be a tough matchup throughout pretty much all parts of the season. But Zach Eflin going out here looking like Nolan Ryan. Then you have the Toronto Blue Jays who can't get anything together. We're just looking for something to be positive about at this point, I think. We still have half a game left. It'll feel like a long game the way it's looking, but we'll see. Hopefully that the Bo Bichette haircut can help him do dividends this season. That's a bad swing, Vlad. I know you got the green light there, but 6-0. You're not going to get that all back with one swing. There you go. Thoughts on the lineup? I like the Bo Bichette, Vladdy Santander at the top. I think that if in a perfect world, you probably have a leadoff hitter, but clearly they don't have an established leadoff hitter on this team right now. Andres Jimenez hasn't done enough in spring training, and just with the track record, not really an on-base guy. Probably not confident with Will Wagner or Alan Roden there. So I think early on, I do like the Bo Bichette, Vladdy Santander. Long term, you can't have Andres Jimenez hitting in your cleanup spot. That's just not going to work for a baseball team. Traditionally, obviously, cleanup hitter needs to have a little bit of power. But when you look at the Toronto Blue Jays team, who really fits that mold as your cleanup hitter? Maybe a guy like Dalton Varsho when he comes back. But again, not exactly who I would want to have as my number 4 guy. So that's just going to be, I think, one of the holes that surface on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see that there is a need for one more power bat. George Springer not being at the leadoff spot is definitely a good sign. The leash will be a little bit shorter for George Springer this season, and he'll be more likely to hit 5, 6, 7, which will be beneficial for the Jays. Him at center field is pretty interesting. We got kind of flamed in one of our comment sections. We said George Springer might start in center field on opening day and might play center field a little bit with Dalton Varsho being out because it's such a short amount of time. And obviously, look what happened. But it didn't. I kind of went away from that as we went throughout spring training. I thought it was going to be Miles Straw, like an Alan Roden when they called him up to the team. But yeah, the main thing for me is just Andres Jimenez hitting number 4 for long-term success for a spot that you want guys to be able to drive in runs and have that run production. I don't think Andres Jimenez is going to get that done long-term. Other than that, though, like Will Wagner, and I see him in the lineup. Alan Roden at number 9. Can't really complain about that. I figured with Jimenez and Kirk with the double plays and just the Jimenez base running, Alejandro Kirk, pretty good contact hitter as well. You have Andres Jimenez in front of him. You're allowing him to steal bases, do a lot of hit and runs, a little bit more flexibility on the offensive side of the baseball. And also, sorry, I just saw I kind of cheated here. I saw a notification. And maybe this is why we have this guy as the cleanup hitter, because Andres Jimenez, the first home run of the Toronto Blue Jays season. Who would have thought? Not me, that's for sure. Maybe everything I just said was wrong. Maybe we need Andres Jimenez as the lead or as the cleanup hitter for the Toronto Blue Jays. Me and Braden did on the podcast. We went with who we expected to hit the first home run. I think Andres Jimenez might have been the last person I would have picked on this opening day lineup. But hey, spring training, you get hot in spring training. You actually absolutely love to see it transferring over to the regular season. But I still think I'm still going to go with that take. I think the long-term Andres Jimenez at the cleanup spot is not going to be a long-term plan for success. But, I mean, you'll have to see it, obviously, in the opening day game. It would have been nice if Lucas got an opening day start. I thought they might go there, before the Miles Straw thing. When Miles Straw made the team, I thought they actually might go with Miles Straw opening day. But yeah, Nathan Lucas, that's been another guy I've been fairly high on as well. I think he's done everything that he's been asked to do when he's been at the major league level. Would have been nice to see Nathan Lucas get that center field start. But obviously, I think with how hot Alan Roden was early on in spring training, they wanted to go in that direction. Okay, well, we're on the board, which you absolutely love to see. Andres Jimenez, first home run of the season. That was not on my bingo card whatsoever. Curveball right down the middle, take advantage of a bad pitch, an absolute meatball. One thing that I think is going to be interesting to kind of see how the Toronto Blue Jays handle this situation is like how they split up these platoons and what they want to do against specific hitters. Because Alan Roden, like it depends obviously how he does transfer over to the major leagues, but can go against righties and lefties. Probably prefer him to go against righties. You know, Will Wagner predominantly against righties. You're going to have Nathan Lucas who hits righties a lot better than lefties. And then when you have lefties, I think Davis Schneider going to crack the lineup pretty much every single time against lefties. That's where I'd throw Miles Straw in at center field as well, especially with Dalton Varsho being out. I think when Varsho comes back, it just makes sense that Miles Straw is not on the team anymore because you have Dalton Varsho played that defense, have that specialty defensively, but then you also have obviously the more upside with the bat. But if you're going to add Miles Straw to the 40-man, you're going to kind of undergo all of this nonsense anyway. I think what they might do is they might take Nathan Lucas off the 40-man. They might keep Miles Straw with the Toronto Blue Jays just to have a guy that can steal bases, a guy that is a great defensive substitution. Sort of that Bradley Zimmer that we did see a few seasons ago. Again, going to be better with the bat. Obviously, Bradley Zimmer was horrific with the bat, but going to play that sort of role as a guy that, you know, just goes on in late innings to steal bases, base run, and just a late defensive substitution. I think if you're looking at just defensively and base running, for those instances, you got to take Miles Straw over a guy like Nathan Lucas. So I think what they're going to want to do with Alan Roden, especially early on, is they're going to want to give this guy a lot of playing time. They're going to want him in the lineup consistently. So I think they might keep up Miles Straw up opposed to sending Miles Straw down and keeping Nathan Lucas when Dalton Varsho comes back. But again, that's into the future. That is at least a couple weeks away. So we're going to have to see how that all does work out. But one thing that we haven't seen yet, obviously, is we haven't gotten really any production from the top three hitters in this lineup. It only has been 6 at-bats combined with the three of them. You got 1 walk. But Toronto Blue Jays, if they're going to be at least average offensively, they're going to have to obviously have great production from the top 3 hitters in this lineup. You're going to need Bo Bichette to have like a 780 at minimum OPS, get on base if he's leading off. You got to have that average high. You want Vladdy to have around that 300 average, the OPS probably around 900 for a successful season from Vladdy. Obviously, you want that a little bit higher, but 900 for me would be around the minimum. 30 home runs. Santander, not going to be the average, but for OPS, we can be around an 825 guy, giving you that 30 home runs. I think that is what you're going to need if the Toronto Blue Jays want to have any sort of opportunity of being successful this season. And they're also going to need Adley Rutschman to get out a few times. That might be something that would help the Blue Jays be successful as well. Home run and single already. Coming off of a pretty down year as well. So igniting the flame for Adley Rutschman early on is not in the Toronto Blue Jays' best interest either. And now we have a 3-1 count from Jose Barrios. Good pitch. Seeing a few tweets now on Twitter. Andres Jimenez Hall of Fame class 2044. You'll absolutely love to see it. I mean, again, if you could just provide any sort of upside with the bat whatsoever when you're playing that level defensively, again, for most teams, that would be very beneficial. Toronto Blue Jays might not appreciate it as much as other teams would, but Toronto Blue Jays need offense. You get that offense from a guy that's going to provide Gold Glove to Platinum Glove defense at second base. I think that's something that you're going to take. I say if Ryan O'Hearn actually hitting in their cleanup spot for the Orioles, but I guess you get a lefty against Barrios, guy that has hurt the Jays before. Everyone on the Orioles seems to be very good against the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, that is the Jose Barrios experience. Is that it's just the blow up starts that really have, like, when you see those months where he has that 5.6 ERA, where you see that opponent average be crazy. It's the home runs that are given up, and that's what caused those blow up starts. So he'll go like 2-3 innings, but he'll give up those 6 runs, or you'll have a situation like this where he gives home runs up early in the game. You don't want him to come out of the game so early because he hasn't thrown enough pitches, and then he makes it. And at least he eats innings throughout his start, but has that ERA absolutely skyrocket. And then you'll have that 7-game stretch where it's copy and paste. Jose Barrios, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 innings, 1 earned run, 5 innings, 0 earned runs. Like, it's those sort of outings that you're going to get from Jose Barrios. So that is a good take. That's kind of the Jose Barrios experience that you do get. You're going to get, I would say for the most part, I'd say 70% of the season, you're going to get that, what I said, like those consistent starts. Then you're going to have those lulls, and those lulls are going to be bad timing, and they're not going to be fun to exist in, but you're going to have those little stretches where Jose Barrios, a time and again, happens where he does not pitch very effectively. And I think a lot of that is just due to the command and hanging pitches over the middle. But that's kind of the Jose Barrios experience too. It's just like the hard contact, the low strikeout rate for the most part. It's just pitching to contact. So the type of pitcher Jose Barrios is, and that's sort of what we see from Chris Bassett as well. Just not toned up as much as Jose Barrios. Piano by 4. I wonder if we get Y-Rod today. I wonder how they're going to use Y-Rod. I think it kind of depends if Barrios goes into the 6th inning as well. Like, if you could have got O'Hearn there, that would have been big. But if he can get, I guess Tyler O'Neill now. If they can get Tyler O'Neill out here in like 4 pitches, they might throw him out again. I think for Y-Rod, it depends when Barrios does come out of the ballgame. And you'll Mullins come up in that inning. You get Jackson Holiday hitting 9. Don't remember who's hitting 8 for the Orioles. Maybe you do see like a Nick Sandlin or a Brennan Little if you get enough lefties coming in. I mean, there still is a lot of baseball to be played here. It's just, do we trust the Blue Jays offense to come back? And can the Toronto Blue Jays offense get to Zach Eflin once again, as we saw last year? So that home run was massive, kind of just, turn the tides around in the game, really get a little bit of excitement back into that dugout. If you would have did that in the 7th inning, I think it's like too little, too late mentality at that point. So big home run by Jimenez there. But it looks like we're going to get Richard Lovelady, the first guy up in the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. Last couple episodes, I'm not a big fan of Richard Lovelady. I'm not going to lie. I think Ryan Yarbrough, I get why they did it. I get you don't need Ryan Yarbrough and Yariel Rodriguez on the same team, on the same roster. They kind of fulfill the same roles. One's just lefty, one's a righty. But I'm not a big Richard Lovelady guy. I even would have went Josh Walker over Lovelady here. Maybe he proves me wrong, but just throughout his experience, throughout the way he pitched with the Rays, I don't love his game necessarily. But I guess with Josh Walker, are you going to get anything much better? But these are the outings that Richard Lovelady comes in here. And this is what I was talking about on the podcast. If he comes in, he gives up a moonball, a 3-run shot. That's the game over. If he can come in, pitch a scoreless inning, keep the Toronto Blue Jays in the game, that's how these games can transpire to work out in the Toronto Blue Jays' favor. And that one inning can mean so much for the game result, whether it goes in the Toronto Blue Jays' favor or goes in the Orioles' favor. All it takes is one pitch to change the entire outcome of a baseball game. And Tyler O'Neill, Canadian, but he's ripped. We need a jack guy on the Toronto Blue Jays. So we kind of have Davis Schneider do that a little bit, but maybe he's got to, get the guns out a little bit more. We need just a gym rat on the Toronto Blue Jays, or maybe just a guy that's showing that he's a gym rat a little bit more. Oh, that's going to be a infield hit for Tyler O'Neill. The swinging bunt. I think if I'm John Schneider here with Barrios, I think you get out of this inning here, ideally, no more damage. And then I think that is Jose Barrios and his opening day start. I don't think you throw him back out for the 6th inning here. I think with the pitch count, with just how he has been in that first start, I think you kind of cut your losses here. You get the sort of Zach Eflin start that we got last year for the Tampa Bay Rays when they were playing the Jays. And you kind of just cut your losses. I think they like Mason Fluharty, Walker, maybe even Amir Garrett, and just want to refine them a little bit like they did with Little last year. That's the thing about Brendan Little that a lot of people don't talk about. I sort of heard about Brendan Little, not familiar about his game whatsoever last year until he did come and pitch with the AAA club, pitch with the Toronto Blue Jays, obviously did develop him pretty well. And that's one of the things that we were preaching about on the podcast when we were talking about these bullpen arms. Obviously, the bullpen needed a ton of help in the offseason, and you have to go out. You got to sign those high leverage guys. You need those guys that can get the outs in the big situations. But a lot of the good bullpens that are built and constructed get these guys from AAA, takes flyers on minor league contracts on these veterans that maybe had a little bit of a down year, guys that they like the stuff, maybe don't have the command, high velo guys. You're really taking chances and doing a lot of trial and error in a bullpen. If you hit on a few of those guys, 1, 2, 3 of those guys that are making either minimums or making under $1 million on your ball club, that is going to go a long way for roster construction. Because I know there is no salary cap in Major League Baseball, but these teams are still businesses. They are business orientated. They're not just going to go out and pay whoever millions of dollars just because they do have the money to do that. We've seen that with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You know how good of a player he is. You know how rich and how much money Rogers has, but they're not just throwing him that blank check because it still is a business. They still want to get a good value contract for both sides. So with those bullpen arms, if you can find a few of those trial and error guys, those diamonds in the rough, and already complement them with some of those established guys like the Jays, the Swansons, the Hoffmans, the Brendan Littles now, you could say, the Nick Sandlins. If there's another, say Amir Garrett, or it is Richard Lovelady, one of those guys, Mason Fluharty, can come up and be a productive reliever, not even a high leverage guy, just a productive reliever you can throw in the 5th, 6th, maybe 7th inning. That would help the Blue Jays tremendously, and hopefully they can get another Brendan Little that comes up throughout the system to help the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen at some point throughout the season. But another thing they also could do is they have an influx of middle infielders. They have Josh Kasevich, they have Aston Barger, they have a ton of guys that we can go through the list of middle infielders that they do have on this roster. Maybe you flip a couple of those guys, get some bullpen help early on, and see what you can do for this bullpen. But with the injuries of Swanson and Burr only being on the 15-day IL, I don't think a major move will probably be made, especially this early on in the season. But yeah, I have heard a lot of talks about Mason Fluharty and the front office liking Mason Fluharty. Kind of the same thing we saw with Alan Roden, and there was another guy I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but Alan Roden, there's another guy that Toronto Blue Jays in the front office were really raving about in spring training and really talking about and putting a little bit of pressure on, hoping that they could take that next step. Mason Fluharty kind of got a little bit of that same treatment from the pitching side as Alan Roden did, with a lot of people within the Toronto Blue Jays hoping that he could be an effective pitcher and take those steps to be on the Major League roster at some point this season. Especially being a lefty too for Mason Fluharty, that's obviously going to help him a ton with this bullpen as well. Just for the people in the live stream, I'm wondering, just out of the people playing today, like you got the Toronto Blue Jays lineup. Let's focus on the hitters. Who do you think that, based off expectation right now, like Will Wagner has a lot of expectation around him, for example. Maybe a guy like Ernie Clement, not as much expectation around a guy like that. Who do you think is going to massively like overperform and break out for the Jays? And who is one guy you think, oh, people think he's going to hit, I don't know, 260 and have a 700 OPS? I don't think he's going to be like that. I don't think it's going to be a very good season for this guy. He's going to underperform and maybe hurt the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit. One guy for me, I don't like to say, and this reason that this question popped into my head right now is that we do have Will Wagner on the screen. And it's not because I don't think Will Wagner is a good baseball player. I just think the expectation is astronomically high for Will Wagner when we see the sample size from last season. 24 games, hit over 300, had around an 800 OPS. That is great. That's exactly what you want to see from a young hitter. A lot of confidence there. But with that small of a sample size, it is very hard to justify and reason that that can transfer over to a full major league season. So Will Wagner, I still want him in the lineup. I still want him getting at bats. But I think you got to pump the brakes a little bit on Will Wagner and lower the expectation just a little bit for a guy that's, only has under 30 games of service time in the major leagues. I think Ernie hits 20 home runs. I think Hopkins is going to open up some power against lefties. Ernie Clement hitting 20 home runs would absolutely feed families. If you have Ernie Clement, a contact guy who's going to play, again, great defense, you can unlock the power a little bit that we saw at times last season. Ernie Clement unlocking the power. One thing I remember last season, Ernie Clement, I'm sure you guys do as well, where he swung a pitch maybe like over his head, probably around head height, and just launched it into left field. One of the wildest swings I've ever seen, but did somehow hit the ball out. You can get that sort of stuff from Ernie Clement coming in those big situations and providing a little bit of that power. Maybe this is a guy that you can see make his way up the batting order, starting right now at 8. Maybe he finds his way in that 7-6 spot and can provide some depth for this middle of the order. I like that Ernie Clement take. Like I said, I'm a big Ernie Clement guy. So any positive vibes going towards Ernie Clement, I'm going to definitely take the opportunity to jump on. Ernie hit the lowest and highest pitch for home runs last season. Just can really do it all. Swiss Army knife of the Toronto Blue Jays. They say Ernie Clement golfs a lot, and he talks a lot about golf as well. So I think when he did hit that lowest pitch out of the year, I think he attributed that one to his golf swing, which just Ernie Clement, great personality, great guy to have in your clubhouse. It's one of the many reasons I'm a big Ernie Clement guy. And just a guy that, battled throughout his career. Never a guy that was a top prospect, supposed to be the greatest player of all time. Really battled. Didn't really make a major league club. Like played a little bit with Cleveland. I think Oakland was the team he was with before the Blue Jays. Never really a full-time major league player whatsoever, and just kind of found his home here with the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, I got a commercial break here, so give me a 30-second break. I'll be right back. Richard Lovelady, first pitches as a Toronto Blue Jay. Hopefully this guy can prove me wrong. Got the two guys up that I'm the least excited about to see in the Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. Got the Richard Lovelady. And then it looks like we got Jacob Barnes up as well. So it's not like Jacob Barnes is just kind of is what it is. You got a 34-year-old relief pitcher, eighth guy in the bullpen, going to be a guy that's there until Ryan Burr or Eric Swanson get back. Be the first guy that gets optioned. Richard Lovelady probably going to be a guy that is here to stay. So I'm hoping that I can see a few good things from him. It hasn't looked bad. I mean, again, throwing 10 pitches in his first outing. So I'm not going to take, that's a great pitch, and he got screwed over there. That should have been a strikeout. That was a good. It looked like a sinker from Lovelady. But yeah, I'm not going to make my opinion on Lovelady until I see a few starts from him. Like initially from spring training, what I saw from him, didn't love the move, but I'll be optimistic. Again, a guy that is your second lefty in the bullpen. That's going to be in your lower leverage situations coming in a 6-2 ball game for his first start. In the sixth inning, going to be the situations that I kind of expect a guy like Richard Lovelady to be in. Those are the situations he's using him, or this team is using him. I don't think that's going to be a terrible thing for the Jays, but I'd still prefer having a little bit of a better lefty in the back of the end of the bullpen. But every team, other than the Los Angeles Dodgers in the MLB, does have some holes. I think it's could go poorly. Would you trade Gausman even if the return isn't good, just so you could have the money to go for Cease, King, or Gallen? That is an interesting notion, actually, for Kevin Gausman. I think with the starting pitching, you already get helped out with Chris Bassett being off the books. That clears up $21 million if you're going to sign Gallen, Cease, or King. Going to have to fork over more than that, but that's a good chunk of what that contract would look like. Corbin Burns got just over $30 million in the offseason, so I'm not sure if they would get a little bit more than that, a little bit less. Depends on how their seasons obviously go here as well. If it goes around, especially for Michael King and Dylan Cease, Zach Gallen, pretty good season last year too. But Dylan Cease had an unbelievable year last year. Michael King continues just to build on what he's been doing. If they trend the direction that they have been trending, probably going to be over a $30 million contract. So with Kevin Gausman, you'd be trading a year and a half of Kevin Gausman. I think what you'd have to do in that trade, if you were going to trade Kevin Gausman, you got to get a prospect probably in that deal. And then you've got to get some major league talent. If you're trading Gausman at the deadline, unless you want Jake Bloss up when you have Alek Manoah, that is an option there. But if you're going to trade Kevin Gausman, a year and a half left on his deal, you probably get a decent amount back for a guy like Kevin Gausman who still has some juice left in the tank. Again, depends on Kevin Gausman pitches this year, but I think that is something the Blue Jays will consider if you get to the trade deadline and this team isn't very successful. But then at the same time, if you're getting to the trade deadline, your team isn't very successful. It's not really Kevin Gausman you're worried about trading. It's Bo Bichette who might be gone. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. who might be gone. Maybe Kevin Gausman's grouped into that. But I think overall, if you're trading Kevin Gausman, that's probably not a good thing for the Toronto Blue Jays. He got hit by legit dudes in spring too. He wasn't getting knocked around by high A guys. Yeah, that's again a lot to be desired and a lot that's going to unfold in front of us as the regular season does progress. I'm not a big guy that takes a lot away from spring training, unless it is like the Allen Roden. Like you see that makes a little bit of a difference between spring training. But like Bowden Francis having a little bit of struggles. Again, Richard Lovelady. Richard Lovelady was getting knocked around by high A guys. Yeah, cute. He's just a guy that again I don't know enough about. I think to make like a big take on this guy, but just what I saw from spring training, not exactly what I loved from Richard Lovelady. But back to that Kevin Gausman thing. I think if you have to trade Kevin Gausman, you're planning on trading Kevin Gausman. I don't like the idea just like in a vacuum if that's what you're trying to do and you're trying to sign Michael King, you're trying to sign Dylan Cease. But I think a lot of those guys, unless they are chasing the bag, even if they are chasing the bag, we've seen the trouble that Toronto Blue Jays have in attracting some of these guys. I think in hindsight, it's a good idea. And if things go well, it's a good idea. But I think that's just a lot of risk the Toronto Blue Jays would be undertaking. And if you're trading Kevin Gausman, you might be blowing up the entire organization. There might be a completely different direction this organization is going. So I think it's tough to speculate right now about that Kevin Gausman trade. But if you do have the plans and set to sign Dylan Cease, to sign Michael King, to get any of those big names, and you have to trade Kevin Gausman to allow yourself to do that, I think that is something you are going to do because that's going to benefit your team much more for the future and have a lot more certainty than you would with Kevin Gausman on a 1.5-year deal. See, I'm a big Michael King guy. I almost like Michael King more than Dylan Cease. I think right now you can get Michael King for a better contract than Dylan Cease. I think they're fairly similar pitchers. I think Dylan Cease does have better strikeout stuff, and I think he's a little bit more established. But I think Michael King, by the end of these contracts, if they are getting paid similar amounts, or you get a big discount on Michael King, which I think you might be able to get compared to a guy like Dylan Cease. Again, depends on the year pans out. But I'm a big Michael King guy ever since he was on the New York Yankees. From what he did the Toronto Blue Jays near the end of the season, I believe in 2022. Ever since then, that's when I was a Michael King guy. So if you can get that guy on your baseball team, I'm not going to be one complaining, that's for sure. But back for that, like the bullpen stuff, talking about Jacob Barnes, as we will see Richard Lovelady, who will be going into the game as well. I don't think it's Richard Lovelady this entire season. You're not going to see Jacob Barnes this entire season. You are going to see some injuries. You're going to see some guys going up and down based off of performance, based on expectations. Maybe Richard Lovelady, like you said, in spring, he was getting hit by the major leaguers, but who's he facing in regular season? He's facing major league pitching. So we're going to have to see how he does do. They're giving him the first shot, so that is a massive advantage. You are with the major league team right now, so he's going to have to perform bad to get sent back down, especially being a left-handed pitcher the Toronto Blue Jays don't really have. The leash is a little bit longer, but come trade deadline, this team is in a position to make the playoffs or at least make a push for the playoffs. That's one of the first things you're going to go out and get. So you're going to get that left-hander in the bullpen, and then you might go out and try to trade for that power bat as well. I think if you're in a spot where you don't have to, or you're looking to acquire players at the trade deadline, I think starting pitching is probably fine. Again, depends on injuries, depends how performances go. But in retrospect, when you're thinking about that at that time, you should still have all the 5 guys you have right now, again, barring injuries. But you also have Alek Manoah coming back. And then you have Yariel Rodriguez as an option. You're going to have Jake Bloss, who's going to have pitched half a season at that time. Maybe you're more confident relying on Jake Bloss. So I don't think the starting market is going to be something that you're going to address at trade deadline. Like you said, you have Zach Gallen, you have Dylan Cease, you have Michael King. You have so many good starters coming off the books for this offseason. I don't think you trade away assets when you have all these guys that are going to be available in free agency anyway. That's a good pitch. Big out here. If you want any sort of chance to get back in this game, you can't allow a run here. And I think it's going to come from that bottom of the sixth inning. You have the top of your order. You have a lot of the guys that you want to do damage. If they're going to make any sort of traction in this game, if they're going to come back, they are going to have to start it next inning. Could we see Tiedemann as a pen lefty late? I think for a playoff push, that would be the only way. That's not gone. Okay. That would be the only way that you have Ricky Tiedemann come out of the bullpen on the left side. It's like you're really going all in, which obviously the front office has said that they wanted to do. I think you're going to have to see, again, what you get at the trade deadline, who's available at the trade deadline for left-handed relievers. So I think as Ricky Tiedemann, obviously being a starting pitcher as well, you don't want to pull him up and you don't want to rush him back, especially coming off of Tommy John. But you do need lefties in this bullpen. You do need lefties on this baseball team. So is it an option? I think it will be. I think that'll be something to consider. But there's a lot that's going to go into it, where the Toronto Blue Jays are in the standings, how he's doing with his recovery. Do they make a move at the trade deadline? How is Brendan Little pitching? Do you get good efforts from Richard Lovelady, Josh Walker? There's a bunch of things to consider with the Ricky Tiedemann stuff. I think they would err on the side of going to get a lefty reliever in a trade and move someone on the Toronto Blue Jays roster or a prospect to bolster that left-handed side of the bullpen. I don't think it would be Ricky Tiedemann, but I think the only way that could happen is if you have a playoff push and maybe you have a lefty injury and you need Ricky Tiedemann to come in and do a couple spot starts. Because even, again, for Ricky, for young guys development with Ricky Tiedemann, a guy that has been injured a ton, the wrap up, like you're not going to go out there and throw him 5 innings, obviously the first time. But I think for him, it's for Ricky Tiedemann and the team, it's the best if you keep Ricky Tiedemann in AAA. Just let him stay healthy for a little bit. Keep this guy actually playing baseball on the baseball field before rushing him in to live action, especially in the major leagues. I would take the exact same approach with Tiedemann that Chicago took with Crochet. Yeah, that would get his feet wet, and especially when you have the injury stuff. And if you're worried about him getting injured over a starting appearance, then maybe you do move him to the bullpen because, again, it doesn't matter how good you are as a starter if you can't make the starts. So maybe if you do move him over to that bullpen, he kind of just lets it eat for an inning, throwing 15 to 20 pitches rather than the 50, 60, 70 that he would throw as the season progressed. But the biggest thing for Ricky Tiedemann is just they need him to actually play baseball. They need him to be on the field to progress and get better so he can pitch for the Toronto Blue Jays and grow into his own body and become an effective MLB pitcher. But you got to actually throw baseballs and be on the field to do that. So I think whatever way they can get Ricky Tiedemann to err on the side of caution and just allow him to play baseball, whether it's in AA, AAA, or the major leagues. I think that is kind of where they're going to go with Ricky Tiedemann. And like I said, they'd much rather go with a trade deadline acquisition rather than rushing Ricky Tiedemann into a spot that he's not necessarily comfortable with, especially as he is a starting pitcher. Don't think they'd just throw him into the bullpen if there was a situation like that, even if there was a playoff run. I just don't think it's beneficial really to the Jays or to Ricky Tiedemann with everything we've seen with Ricky and the injury history. Yeah, I don't think he has pitched in the 5th inning since like March 23rd. It's been a long time. A lot of the starts he was making was like 3 1/3. You go 3 innings. The strikeout numbers were usually there, and the pitch count I found was relatively high as well. But yeah, you're right. He wouldn't really get deep into games. So that's, again, a thing that if you're Ricky Tiedemann, if you're a Toronto Blue Jays organization that doesn't have a lot of pitching depth to begin with, especially at the top of their prospect pool, I think they're really going to try to be cautious with Ricky Tiedemann. Because looking way into the future, and I just realized I was responding to the comment, I kind of missed the Allen Roden hit there. I'll have to get the replay. But, what was I going to say now? I'll have to wait for it to come back to me. This is what I was going to say. Just looking into the future in 2027, best case scenario, everything kind of works out. You have Jose Barrios still in that rotation. You got Trey Savage there. You're going to have Ricky Tiedemann. You hopefully have Alek Manoah, and then maybe Bowden Francis is there if everything works out in a perfect world. Jake Bloss somewhere slotted in there as well as a 6th guy. So maybe Bowden Francis in the bullpen. Maybe you lose one of these guys to free agency. But that's kind of what the Toronto Blue Jays, I think, are looking for in the next couple of seasons. And if you want Ricky Tiedemann to get to that point, again, you just got to have him pitching in baseball games. But yeah, if you are worried about the injury, though, I think moving him to the bullpen and just actually allowing him to pitch, like I said, you need this guy to pitch in baseball games. Maybe getting him in every other day or every second day, opposed to going through that same starting rotation stretch, might not be a bad idea to get this guy on the baseball field. Bo Bichette get out of Rogers Center. That would have been massive if Bo Bichette could have went deep there. Oppo. Barrios opting out after 26. I think with Barrios, he could probably get more money after that 2026 year, especially if he's pitching the way he is right now. So I don't mind that take. That is, with all the other guys coming off the roster, I haven't really looked that far forward for the most part. The farthest I've looked really is with not anymore, Alejandro Kirk, the extension, but the Dalton Varsho year, the Kevin Gausman year, after 2026. That's kind of where I've looked at in terms of contracts. I haven't really looked at the opt-outs yet, though. So, but Jose Barrios does have an opt-out after 2026. I think the way things are going, he does probably take that opt-out, unfortunately. They'd have to either rework a contract or they'd have to let him go to free agency. I think that's why that's just a main reason that you brought up the Michael Kings, the Zach Allens, just all the pitchers that are going to be available this upcoming season. I think that is that makes the Toronto Blue Jays a prime candidate to go out and make a massive splash at the top of their rotation in 2025. But the only issue that I have when we talk about this is the Toronto Blue Jays have been spending money recently, but when you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the offseason, you have Bo Bichette, you have Chris Bassett, who I don't think they're re-signing whatsoever. And then if they are going to go out and sign a top-of-the-end starting pitcher, that is a lot of money to dish out in one offseason. And it leads me to believe that I don't think Toronto Blue Jays are going to go out and pay $30 million a year, have a $250, $300 million contract for a top-of-the-end starting pitcher. Then you sign Bo Bichette to $250 million, whatever that ends up being. Then you have Vladdy's contract. I just find it hard to believe that the Blue Jays are going to pay everyone all the money that they want. On this baseball team, really the only certainty we have for the next couple of seasons is the younger players. Obviously, the guy still on ARB is one thing, but Alejandro Kirk, Anthony Santander, Jeff Hoffman, I guess, sort of get 3 years of Jeff Hoffman. A lot of these guys could, this team could look insanely different, obviously, going into the 2026 season. But I tried to live more in the moment, especially when, we're in opening day of baseball. We still got 161 baseball games after this for 2025. So that's why I try not to go too far in the future, especially with so many things undecided. It's tough to speculate with that kind of stuff when, again, you have your franchise cornerstones not signed. You have a year where you came off a year where you were supposed to be a very good baseball team, supposed to make the playoffs, supposed to at least be competitive, and you were one of the worst teams in the AL, one of the worst teams in the MLB. So it's hard to speculate with just the roller coaster these last few seasons with the Toronto Blue Jays has been. That's a pretty good swing for the pitch that he swung at, but. Here, I think I am going to wrap it up here, though, guys. I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching, especially Boo in the comments section. Been appreciated. Just you hanging out, watching the baseball game with us, obviously. Still, hopefully the Toronto Blue Jays do win. There still is 3 more innings, but there is some stuff behind the scenes that we do want to do, set up for the podcast, get everything ready to go as well. Also have a few buddies coming over. So we're going to wrap it up here. I was going to answer this last question. Honestly, I'm an Varsho hater, and I'm more on board with non-tendering or trading him than an extension. It's at the end of the day, when you look at the Toronto Blue Jays, this team does need offense. They have all the defense in the world. They have a bunch of guys on this roster that are Gold Glove caliber defenders. Ernie Clement, not George Springer, wouldn't go that far. Alejandro Kirk, Miles Straw, if he played every day, would be a Gold Glove defender. Andres Menes, Dalton Varsho. They do have a ton of defense. With Varsho, you saw the one good season where he had 27 home runs. When they traded for Dalton Varsho, that they're, I think, expecting that to be more of a regular thing. Didn't obviously get that. So the Dalton Varsho extension is another thing that I'm not sure where you even start that. It's if Bo Bichette has a bad year. I'm not sure where you start that. Dalton Varsho being a premium defender, offering around the league average offense. I'm not really sure where you start that contract. I guess I would throw it at like $15 million a year. But it's going to be interesting to see how they value defense, especially after Kevin Kiermaier got, the $11 million from the Toronto Blue Jays after putting up a decent offensive season and just being a very good defender. So I think it would start around the $15 million range. He is so operated defensively, it sickens me. His arm barely plays in center. Yeah, not a very good arm from Dalton Varsho, but does make up a lot of that with a range, obviously. He also doesn't come in on balls well at all. Oh, overrated. Yeah. I think it's hard to call Varsho an overrated defender. I think there's parts about his game that maybe people overrate. And they see Dalton Varsho is an elite defender, and they just assume that that means, his arm strength must be elite as well. Like the accuracy, the range, like everything that goes together. Kind of like Vladdy, you can see the Gold Glove defense. He does things well, but predominantly, I don't think Vladdy is a very good defender. Dalton Varsho, very unbelievable range, probably the best range in just direction and routes to the balls that you could have in the major leagues. There is some stuff to be desired about the arm and maybe on the jumps, you could say. I think the jumps are still okay though as well. I think the only thing for me that I've really noticed is that the arm strength maybe not up to par. But with Dalton Varsho, again, even if you have top tier arm strength and this guy is gunning runners out like Bo Jackson was, if you're leaving stuff to be desired at the plate for a Toronto Blue Jays roster that is already compromised like this and already has some guys that are so defense first and they kind of have some lackluster hitters, I think one thing that Toronto Blue Jays could try to do is try to go back to that mentality they had in 2021, 2022 and try to load up on some more power and get the offense going once again. Even comparing him to actual elite guys like Pete Crow Armstrong is nonsense. He gets more than 2/3 of his defensive runs saved in left. Pete Crow Armstrong is if it's not Dalton Varsho, that guy's tracking, again, the range that Pete Crow Armstrong offers is ridiculous. And I think with him, there's not as much offensive expectation with Pete Crow Armstrong right now. But if you're going to pay Dalton Varsho as a top-tier defender, he's going to have to play that top tier of defense, which you're probably going to get from him. But I think the biggest thing for me would be what is left to be desired for that bat. He's a bottom of the line. He's a bottom 3 hitter in your lineup. It's got to get better than that if he wants to get the bag in the offseason. I just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. We will have a short coming out from this as well. Obviously, the podcast will be live on Friday. For that podcast, when it comes out or on the live stream, leave your comments just how you thought the live stream went. If you guys would be interested to do more live streams in the future. Just some shorts, ideas, just anything you guys want us to talk about. We have a ton of ideas already, obviously, but it's always nice to see what the different perspectives that we do get, what you guys think is important, and just all the different opinions and thoughts that we get from you guys, because that's why we do this podcast. We'd like to do it to have conversations with the people and just enjoy Toronto Blue Jays baseball together. A lot easier to do when they are winning baseball games, but hopefully this does turn out for the best for the Toronto Blue Jays and we see a little bit of a Texas Rangers comeback like we saw a few years ago. Thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys, I guess, tomorrow morning for the podcast.